grab a water too. Well, I think that was an unprecedented statement by the mayor, who certainly organized quite a reception here this evening.
Excuse me, are you going to talk about the report or the previous speaker? Because I think talking about the previous speaker is out of order right now.
Why is that out of order? Because his claims are blatantly false.
We asked for your input regarding the report by the Secretary of State and his executive director, or any actions that we have taken or are pending.
And what relationship did he just have making that statement, commenting about the report then? This was a partisan political statement that he made.
He was not speaking.
Essentially trashing what we've been doing, which is
he was not speaking about a previous speaker, and he spoke to the issues that were in the original complaint. Do you have something to add or something to question about the report or about our pending action?
I'll make a statement that what the poll watchers have put together in that report, which has just been essentially trashed by the mayor of Worcester, is 100% accurate. And furthermore, that the work that we've done is a representation of a lot of other Worcester voters who have served as poll watchers during this last cycle. And they were residents of Worcester. And the few people who made the testimony and filed this report represent a lot of other poll watchers in Worcester who do live in Worcester and work in Worcester and raise families in Worcester. So I resent dramatically the statement made. I think it's partisan and political. And I can see he wants this just put to bed, because what we're doing is a service to the voter to ensure
who's we?
Myself and other poll watchers who have volunteered their time to help ensure the integrity of Worcester elections. And the document that we filed in November and all the points that were made in that document and the points that had attorneys brought in to also view, and all this that was evidence, all this is accurate. And what's happening now is just trying to negate what we've done and brush it under the rug and put it aside. Now, I appreciate the Secretary of State, his office, responding and saying that going forward, poll workers can, as Josh mentioned, and as we read last month, poll workers can stop people who are marching in under the guise of assistance to voters and make sure that they really need assistance, whether it's physical or mental handicap or the like. But if they're just walking in there with someone who's going to point to them and say, here's how you vote, that shouldn't happen. So that's going to be a change, and a welcome change, that poll workers can stop people who are getting escorted and ask, why do you need the escort? So we're happy to see that. Another thing that was brought up in the memo, which we were going to talk about today, is a meeting that the Secretary of State's office was going to have with the commission and with people. They wanted to have more information from the city as to what the practices have been.
May I address that?
Yes.
We did have a conference call with Michelle Tassinari, the executive director, and those points were discussed. Joshua alluded to, spoke directly to that conversation. Right. That was the meeting.
Okay, so that's the whole meeting. There's no other meeting planned. It's a meeting with the city. It's not planning to include any of the other.
No.
Okay.
Clarification.
Yeah.
Clarification. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I believe the request the commission made was that there be clarification made in the form of a conference call which took place.
Right.
And just so I could clarify one thing that comes out of the response from the Secretary's Director of Elections that I believe you've been provided. it is that we will not be making the decision, nor will poll workers, whether or not the voter requires assistance. We will be prompting the voter to state whether they would want the assistance that is next to them. And that's the clarification. So we're not making determinations, and the Secretary isn't asking us nor our poll workers to do that. Just so it's clear, because the meeting is being taped, I want it to be certain that anything that is said that it needs additional clarification is done at this point, so that going forward, we don't have any misinterpretation about what's stated.
And what about what I read, which I just received today, about needing more information in order to provide some feedback on all the other points we had in the memo, the original memo we wrote?
What are you referring to?
I think that the Secretary of State's office, it sounded like the Secretary of State's office needed some further information from the city in order to respond to other points that we made in the original filing.
But I've asked, what is it that you're referring to? I don't know where you're reading that.
Well, all the points that we made in the, I think that was in the January. Let's see. Or I think here in today's memo, January 19th, it's mentioned that, for example, on the second page, after Ms. Tassinari indicated the Secretary of State could not tell from the information provided whether individuals in the polling locations were wearing T-shirts with neighbor logos, etc. I understand the conclusion that it is not possible without further information to make an
yes. Okay, so if you go forward to the next page, Madam Chair, I'm sorry to not ask permission to speak,
Please.
just speak directly. In the top bullet there that begins, assuming the second line, the extent to which the organization involved itself in the electoral process prior to election day. What Ms. Tassinari has clarified to us is that this is a situation that will present itself during each election season, that we will need to confer and determine who it is that is an active player in the electoral process leading up to an election. She said to us this way, that if there are, for example, a series of ballot questions, there may be organizations that we've never heard of, that have never had a presence in Worcester, that may then become very active, and so their involvement by having identifying logos would then fall under the guidelines. So that's the additional information that she's referring to.
Okay. All right.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say that, everything that, we discussed with Michelle Tassinari and also, and the law office is looking forward. We want to make sure that, everything, we, do everything properly to make sure that within the, within the law that, to avoid any questions or problems. And so these were, when we spoke with the Secretary of State's office, these training issues were what specifically were mentioned as ways to better, better avoid the types of perceived issues that have occurred in the past.
Okay, and one last comment. I do wholeheartedly resent the racist remarks made by the mayor, suggesting that those of us who did this work, who are poll watchers and volunteered our time to help ensure integrity in elections, are somehow against what other people look like. And we have a problem with how other people look like, and we have a problem with an election that's lost. There are a lot of elections that are lost in this state. The point is to ensure the integrity of the elections and the integrity of the voter. So I summarily reject and resent the mayor of Worcester making such a partisan political statement in here. I think it's outrageous.
Is there another speaker who would wish to speak or ask a question?